Welcome to a brand new episode of SnobCast. This is Johnny, the OG Snob. How you doing? Hope you're all doing well out there, keeping safe, having fun, eating food, and all that good stuff. Watching movies, of course, listen to some music. Thank you once again for all the great feedback on the reboot episodes of SnobCast. Today's episode is very, very special, and I'm very excited about it because it's been 2.5 years that I haven't had a comic interview from Just for Laughs Festival, and this is the first one, and I couldn't be more happy to welcome Jessica Kirson from the Just for the Culture show at the Just for Laughs Festival happening this summer. From that show is happening from July 13th till the 28th, and it's just so much fun to interview these comics who are part of such a huge roster, like a gala show almost. This was formerly known as the Ethnic Show. They've changed the name, but this is always a hit of the festival, and it's always one of the highly acclaimed shows of the festival. So it's super fun for me. Before we get to that interview, don't forget to follow us on socials and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, Snob Media, everywhere you need. And of course, Lino Creatives, our producer, the guy behind the scenes. If you got a business you want to make look pretty, this is the dude to contact. So be sure to check him out, Lino Creatives, on social media, Instagram. And yeah, I've been doing well. Been gearing up for the festival season here in Montreal. We got the Jazz Festival coming up next week, and JFL, Just for Laughs, in a few weeks, and it's very fun. Coming up on the future episodes of the podcast, we'll most likely have more special guests, so that's a lot of fun, and a lot of different topics being discussed between comics. I mean, what better way to spend 20 or 30 minutes with us than learning about comedy? Come on. Without further ado, let's check out Jessica Kirson right here on SnobCast. Jessica Kirson, thank you so much for joining us today on SnobCast. You're our first comedic interview since the pandemic.
That's a big honor.
Yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled. I love you. I saw you for the first time in 2017 at the Ethnic Show here in Montreal. And ever since then, I've been like, I love this. I love this woman. I'm very excited.
Oh, that's such a big compliment.
How you doing? How's everything been? It's been fucking weird. We can swear here, by the way. Like, it's all right.
I'm s- I'm so fucking glad we can fucking swear because it's been a fucking nightmare.
I can
Um,
imagine.
it's been crazy. Yeah, it's been crazy, but it's much better now, thank God. During COVID, it was insane. All my gigs were canceled, and then I
Right.
ended up doing comedy out of my walk-in closet. This is totally true. In New York and doing outside shows. And but now I've been traveling for a while and it's been great.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you're back in full force. And I mean, is New York? You're performing mostly like, well, I mean, you perform everywhere, but I mean, your hub is like, it's New York City, right?
Yeah, so I've been a New York comic for 23 years,
Hmm.
which I love, but I've been on the road a ton
Yeah.
and it's been great. It was hard at first. It was very weird because at first everyone was wearing masks and it was very spread out. And also not just that, but like in the United States, politically it was very weird
Yeah.
for a while. Um, but it's very different now. People have relaxed a lot and it's much better now.
I'm happy to hear, and I think us Montreal crowds, as you're familiar with, we're very excited for the festival to be back in person because last year it was like virtual, which was weird. So I mean, We're happy to have you back at the Just for the Culture show, formerly known as the Ethnic Show. And I mean, this is a roster of comics. I mean, it's you, Alonzo
Yes.
Bowden, Dave Merhej, Giannis Papas, Sheng Yang. I mean, and it goes on and on. I mean, this is like the hit of the fest. One of my favorite shows. Anyway, I'm Italian, so it's fun for me to go to this show. I mean, what can we expect from you?
Yeah, this is a killer show. I mean, the comics are amazing on this show.
Mhm.
So it's like I never know who's going to be on the show when they ask me to do it. And when they ask me, I'm like, who's on the show? Because I have to know who I'm going to spend weeks with.
It's
Is
yeah,
it going
this
to
is
be
like
a
a long running
nightmare?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, am I going to be fucking miserable for weeks? Or is it going to be okay? But I'm on with Yeah, so I'm on with friends and I'm so excited. I love these guys and it's going to be I mean they're amazing comics. So I'm the best, of course, but they're amazing comics and people should definitely come to this show cuz I get naked at the end and I do a whole dance and it's really going to be a hit.
Yeah, no, that's what we're waiting for. I mean, yeah. So just for the culture, which is
Yeah.
taking place
You
from the
know,
yeah, yeah. No, I'm familiar. Yeah, it won't be a shock to me, but
you
you know,
yeah, you've seen that whole bit that I
yeah,
do,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes, I have.
With the plan.
I have, and I mean, so this show runs from the July 13th to the 28th. It's one of the longest running shows at the festival. I wanna know something interesting. I read something interesting about you, which a lot of people probably don't know, is you teach comedy in New York City. Tell me how that's important to you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I started teaching stand up years ago because it's not something I ever thought I'd do. But what happened was I ran new talent shows for years at Gotham Comedy Club.
Mhm.
And I would see comics do all these things and want to be like, maybe you shouldn't do this or maybe you shouldn't do that. And then people would say, can I pay you to work with me for an hour or whatever? And then I just thought, you know what, maybe I'll have some classes and you can pay me a little bit of money and I'll start doing this. And then it ended up being this thing that I could do, make a little money and help people. And then it got really popular. And I actually taught Chris DiStefano and Rosebud Baker and
Oh wow.
worked with Amy Schumer. This was years ago. And I love to teach because what happened was it was also like business stuff, a lot of it. And I would help people so that they wouldn't have to experience all the horrible things I went through.
Right.
um I would help them, learn about the business and learn about even crowd work and how to deal with audiences and stage presence and all different things so that they wouldn't have to learn the hard way and go through things on their own. And I felt great about it. And then I didn't do it for a long time. And then during COVID, I started teaching classes for women online again because I was around and just sitting at home. And a lot of people started asking me to do private sessions with them.
Oh wow.
So I started doing it and just
I
Sorry,
lost
I
you there.
lost you.
I lost you. I don't know what happened. But we were talking about you teaching
I have no
women.
idea.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
so I started teaching women during COVID, and it was amazing. And I've been doing it the whole time. I've been teaching these classes online for women across the United States, and it's been so great. And they've all connected. And there's this whole group of like 100 women that support each other around the United States and do shows together. And they go online together now and do writing sessions. And it's this whole network of women. It's great.
Yeah, and actually, touching on that, I had a question about the FX doc that was released last year, called Hysterical, which I know you had some sort of part in either assisting in the making of this documentary. Tell us what it's about. I mean, I've seen it. I think it's super important. And I mean, and again, why was this project important to you?
Well, this was my baby. Like this
Okay.
happened, I was doing a show at a club in New York City called Stand Up New York,
Mhm.
and there was an advertising agency there, and they came up to me afterwards and they said, "We're interested in doing some kind of little film about like an in their just within their company about female comedians." And I'd met with them a couple times with my manager, and they didn't end up doing it. But then my manager and I, who's also a producer, he had a deal with FX, like a first look deal, where if he had an idea, he would bring it to them. And we went to FX and said, "We have this idea to make a documentary about female comedians and show our process and what we've been through and what we go through." And they loved it right away. And so we executive produced this movie. So yeah, I produced this movie about female comedians. It's called Hysterical, and it was amazing. There's 15 of us in it. I mean, Fortune Feimster, Eliza Schlesinger, Kathy Griffin, Margaret Cho, Sherry Shepard, a ton of people. And it was on FX, and it's on Hulu now. And now we're in the process of making another one. We just started about female comics around the world. And this one is fascinating because like we interviewed the all during COVID, I've been interviewing female comics around the world.
Right.
So I interviewed like the only female comic in Jordan,
Oh, wow.
and female comics in South Africa, and everywhere, Abu
Where the world is
Dhabi, and
just
like it's
different.
it's
Yeah.
really interesting. And the Soleil Moonfry, Punky Brewster,
Mhm.
and yeah, so it's a cool project.
Yeah, I think that's great. And when can we see this? Do you have a like a tentative release date? Like when is this new project coming out?
We don't have a release date yet because we're just starting to get the whole thing together, and I'm gonna travel with Soleil and cruise and go to these countries and interview these women, and I'm gonna perform with them. So it's gonna be.
Awesome. I know you got to go soon. We got two questions here on SnobCast. I'll go with this one first. Last week on the podcast, we spoke about expensive hobbies, and I mentioned how I'm a huge vinyl collector, and it's not the most expensive hobby, but it becomes expensive. What would you say is your expensive hobby?
It used to be drugs. That was very expensive because
For
I
sure.
liked good drugs. So that was an expensive hobby. Yeah. um, I would say, I don't know, an expensive hobby. It would probably be, hmm, a hobby. I'm trying to think of what I do. I don't know. I mean, this isn't really a hobby because it's not an addiction, but I do like to gamble. It's not an addiction, but
You
it's
enjoy
like
it.
it is a hobby because I like playing cards.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
It's not a problem because I don't do it often, but it is a hobby to play blackjack.
Yeah. Let's
So once
you
in a
can teach
while
me
it can get
something. Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go with you. There's casinos there, isn't there? We
There
should
is.
go.
There is. We'll go together. Let's do.
Let's
Finally,
do it.
before I let you go, our signature question here. I've been asking this question for the last 5 years. All right. And I've never interviewed you. So this is very fun for me. Um, what song would you have played at your funeral?
Oh, the soundtrack from Schindler's List.
Oh, perfect. Very, very fit. Very fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean seriously. Um, maybe Baby's Got Back. I don't know. I'm trying to think. At my funeral, um, that's a really good question.
Thank you. Yeah. People tend to like it.
I like that question.
Yeah.
It is a good question.
Because we're all morbid fucks, let's be honest. I mean,
No, I'm completely a morbid fuck. Oh my God. I think You've Got a Friend. by James Taylor.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
yeah,
That's actually
yeah.
like
I
my
mean, I
dad.
love James Taylor.
I love James Taylor. I actually just saw him last month here in Montreal, and that song for me is
You,
like yeah. That song for me connects me and my dad. I love that song. Beautiful song.
me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
really.
That
So I'll
song
bring my
connects me
dad to
with
the
both
show.
my parents. Yeah.
I'll bring my dad to the
Oh,
show and we can meet up.
I thought you were going to say I'll bring my dad to your funeral.
That too.
Okay, great. That
Yeah.
makes me feel good.
Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. We look forward to seeing you at the Just for the Culture show in Montreal. I look forward to meeting you in person, because that would be totally different. So
Me too. We have to meet in person and we're going to go to the casino and I'm going to teach you blackjack. We're going to have fun.
I'm holding you to that, and I will. We'll work on that. We'll
I
get that.
promise.
Yeah, let's do it. Jessica, thank you so much. So much love from Montreal, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Huge thank you to Jessica Kirson for being on the show today. A huge thank you to C2C Communications out in Toronto, Charlene and Liana. Mwah. The best in the business. Don't even fuck around. They're the best. I love them so much. They've supported me throughout these years, being affiliated with the festival, doing interviews. And it's a lot of fun for me. And I'm happy that they agreed to do this again this year after 2.5 years. It's been so long. It's been so long. And it's so, it's nice to get oiled up and ready for this comedy Mecca festival. It's the biggest comedy festival in the world, world renowned as well. So again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, Snob Media, Instagram, and of course, check out Lino Creatives on Instagram as well for all your business needs. He is the guy. Don't even wait. Contact him right now. Until next week, this has been SnobCast, and I've been Johnny, and I hope to see you again next week on SnobCast.